Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Sports on a Positive Tip. I'm here with Kenny Squared. This is where we have conversations at the intersection of sports and faith. Kenny, that was amazing the other night. We were just talking about the rarity these days of the inside the park home run, and we have one leadoff inside the park home run, and later on that same night, a walk-off inside the park home run, three-run homer, the Giants against the Phillies. And that was Lawrence Butler with the Oakland A's, and it was Patrick Bailey with the Giants. And we said it would have to be in these stadiums that are a little quirky. Well, doesn't get too much quirkier than both those stadiums. That's that minor league park in Sacramento. And then there was the quirkiness of Oracle Park in San Francisco. What were your thoughts when you saw both of those clips?
The one of the catcher, that's Bailey, right?
Yes.
That to me was incredible. Like it was once you saw it like hit sideways and then the outfielder going in the opposite direction, you're like, yeah,
Oh,
that's a home run.
yeah.
But it is incredible because it's something we haven't seen since 1926, where you've had a
Wow.
walk-off home run and a lead-off inside the park home run, both of them in the same day. So
Wow. 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 It was absolutely amazing. And I think that in the San Francisco one, if you hear and you watch how crazy the crowd is going, can you imagine being in person at that game and you see this ball now rolling away from the outfielders, and you know that even though Patrick Bailey is not fast, you know that he's probably going to make it. I mean, the crowd was just going crazy. It was just one of those exciting baseball plays that is so rare to see, let alone twice in one night, lead off and then walk off. I thought that was amazing. Kenny, did you get to catch? And this will probably be the only basketball we talk about today. I think we're going to fill in with mostly, if not all, of baseball. Did you get to catch any of the Mike Brown opening press conference?
I saw a couple of like clips and such. I didn't watch it live though.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't watch it live either. I'm sitting around watching that Mike Brown press conference. No, I didn't watch it live either. But what were some of your impressions from just a couple of clips that you saw?
I think he's kind of built for New York. I don't think being here is going to intimidate him, which is good. And I don't know. It seems like he might actually be a pretty good fit. I think. I trust the leadership, especially when it's not something crazy like what Dolan has done. So
Okay. I want to expand on that a little bit more. Let's go ahead and start the show, and because you said a couple of interesting things there. Ready to get this going?
let's go.
This episode of Sports on the Positive Tip is brought to you by the Tavern Coffee House. Attention, coffee lovers! Are you craving the perfect cup of coffee to start your day? Well, look no further than the Tavern Coffee House. It's located at 12302 Buckeye Road in Cleveland, Ohio. You can also check them out and order your coffee at thetaverncoffee.com. Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny and
Kenny squared.
with the Sports on the Positive Tip podcast. And Kenny, we've got a lot of baseball to jump into as we're well past, not well, but we're a few games past the halfway mark, getting ready to go into the All-Star break. So a lot of baseball to talk about. And I was telling you before we came on that I'm sensing that a lot of these races are taking shape. But we'll get to baseball in a second. In the opening, you said a couple of interesting things about Mike Brown. You said that you think he might be built for New York. Expand on that a little bit. What did you mean?
I think sometimes, especially like we see it more in baseball because the expectations are always higher. But I think especially with the Knicks and especially with this particular Knicks team, the expectations are higher than they've been in, you can argue, 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they made the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, they there's the expectation of now making the NBA Finals, especially with a very wide open Eastern Conference. And it kind of seemed like Mike Brown isn't intimidated by it, which like I thought, okay, yeah, we need like a guy that no one really knows, or he's like kind of never been there and can kind of emerge as the guy. But maybe it makes more sense that we have a veteran presence that like has been in the big stage before. Like he was an assistant head coach for a lot of years with the Golden State Warriors team that won multiple championships.
Yeah.
Obviously, back in 2007, brought a LeBron and nobody else team to the NBA Finals. So
Right.
it's a guy that's been on the biggest stage before. He's won championships as an assistant. I think that having that type of mentality will help because I can almost guarantee you if this team starts out like 5-3, which isn't bad, but if they start out 5-3, especially if the schedule isn't like playing all the top teams in the West or whatever, people are going to be annoyed. People are
Yeah.
already going to be calling, well, Mike Brown should just get fired. Because, like, we know how New York is.
Yeah.
How many times has Aaron Boone and Carlos Mendoza been asked to get fired?
Yeah.
It happens all the time. And I think that Mike Brown is the type of guy that can actually handle it and then kind of move on. I think also he's going to implement the bench a lot more. So
Yeah.
at first I was like, but I'm kind of warming up a little bit more to him being head coach. Well,
Well,
I don't have any choice.
it's an interesting take. And I agree with you. And I think your reaction was the same with probably 90% of Knicks fans, right? When we heard that Mike Brown was going to be the head coach. One of the other things that I think prepares him for this spotlight is that he took Phil Jackson's place, right? He replaced a legend in Los Angeles, and it only lasted 2 seasons, but that had to be quite the hot seat as well. You know what I saw that started to ping me a little bit as to maybe this is why they went in a little bit of a different direction. This is absolutely no knock on Tom Thibodeau, but he is cut from a different cloth and almost a little bit of a different era. He's gruffy, right? He's saucy. He doesn't say much. He you could tell he doesn't really like press conferences. He reminded me a lot of Jeff Van Gundy, which I've always said this, right? I was shocked that Van Gundy was such a great commentator because he never said anything. And I'm saying the same about Derek Jeter too, because Jeter would give us nothing. But yet he's very good actually on these pre and post game shows. But I think that there was such a contrast. And Mike Brown, the way he carried himself, he was very lighthearted. He joked a little bit. I saw these clips. He joked a little bit with Alan Hahn. Alan Hahn asked him about Wally Serbiak, who's one of the Knicks announcers. He said, you coached him. What can you tell us about his strengths and what was his weaknesses? He's like, Wally who? He knew he was talking about. He said, oh, okay. So he was a guy that I think just a lot of ladies liked. I don't think he prepared for the games at all. Oh, and Alan Hahn didn't know that he was just joking. And he said, I'm just kidding. He was an excellent player. And you would never get that from Thibodeau. And that's not a knock or anything like that. It's just a different style. So I think the rest of the Knick hierarchy, right, from Leon Rose to James Dolan and anyone else in between, right? You never see anybody else in front of the camera anymore, whether it's John Starks or Allen Houston or any of these guys that work still within the organization. They're very uncomfortable talking in the media. That doesn't make them bad executives or bad people. It's just this piece, they seem very uncomfortable talking to the media where Mike Brown seems right at home. He's engaging, he's lighthearted. I think after a tough loss, and there will be tough losses during the year, right? I think he'll stay and take as many questions, as possible. Visit Thibodeau been known to, okay, a couple of questions and then he's out. So it is a different direction, and I'm wondering if the Knicks wanted to put a little bit more of a brighter face on it. See, I got the impression for years and years and years. You got the same impression that because the Knicks sell out every game, no matter what, the New York Rangers as well, that especially through the thousands and the 2010s more, that they didn't really care about the winning. They didn't care about their image. Um, but I'm getting the impression now that maybe Dolan in his he's a little bit older. I don't want to say old age, but maybe he's caring a little bit more about that he not only wants the winning, which I think we'll get this year, right? But he also wants kind of a different, I don't know what the word I'm searching for, just a little bit more of a lighthearted, more transparent face on the organization. Because Leon Rose is not going to do that. Dolan definitely is not going to do that. But Mike Brown, I think, embraces that wholeheartedly. Your thoughts?
I would agree. And it is interesting to kind of think of it that way. And like he's more less worried about like making the money, but more about leaving a legacy. And I think that there's a lot to that. And and yeah, like I mean, we've also had at times much more stronger um presidents slash GMs. I'm thinking Isaiah Thomas when he's just like, oh, forget it, I'm gonna also coach too. Also Phil Jackson,
Yeah.
where you had guys that were a little bit more of like the face, where it kind of seems like Leon Rose and Worldwide West are like they're doing the stuff, but
Yeah.
they're doing a lot more behind the scenes.
Right.
And I don't know, like between all of the moves that they've made, like people they said like I've heard this was a few weeks ago that a lot of teams wish that they were in the Knicks position because Jalen
Yeah.
Brunson took a significant pay cut.
Yeah.
I mean, I texted you yesterday. Devin Booker is making $72.5 million
Yeah.
with a
I
crazy extension. Like you can't get over that when it comes to like the salary cap stuff.
I have that down. We got to talk about that in a second. Um, I think you hit it on the head. I think Leon Rose, Worldwide West, those guys are not going to be guys that are going to be the faces of the franchise and speak to the media. They're just not. They haven't in these 5 years now, 6 years, right? So I don't expect them to do that. But Mike Brown will, and and so yeah, I'm starting to embrace a higher. I'm with you. I like the moves that they made. First of all, to shore up the bench, and you don't want these guys tired as we get deep into the playoffs is a grind, man. I mean, it ended, late June and started in mid-April. So it's over 2 months of just intense basketball night after night. So um I think I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good to see. Um I think for me, we'll put a cap on this. For me, Ken, I think you don't see any more written about why Tom Thibodeau was fired, right? And they don't owe that to us. They can fire whoever they want to fire, coach or whatever. And the shock is kind of worn off. But as I was looking at some of these clips of that press conference, so I started to go back to, is he really a better coach than Thibodeau? And I still don't think he is. I think Thibodeau X's and O's once the game starts was one of the better coaches in the league. I would say top five at least. I'm not sure Mike Brown has ever been there, but if you now start to add some of the stuff together, and will Mike Brown be able to push the right buttons with Jalen Brunson and with Karl Anthony Towns and the rest of this team and make them even more cohesive? Because there were times in the Indiana series and in the Detroit series, those two more that I felt like the team wasn't as cohesive. They were playing basketball that we hadn't really seen in the regular season. And I think Brown will push a different button, so to speak, with all those players. Um,
I agree.
yeah,
Especially he's more offensive minded, so I think
yeah,
that he will really like
yeah,
he'll take things to the next level.
yeah. Last quick thing. I said last thing a second ago, but last quick thing. I love that he started the press conference by saying, I want to start by saying Tom Thibodeau did an outstanding job with this team. They went deep in the playoffs. They made the playoffs just about every year. I mean, he gave Tom Thibodeau accolades. He deflected a lot from himself, which I really like as a quality. So yeah, you texted me this yesterday. I think the NBA, I think in another year or two, Kenny, we're going to see the first $100 million player. And that might be somebody like Giannis or whoever starts to come up, because the salary cap is expanding. And you mentioned this: Amazon, NBC, ABC, ESPN re-upping. The TV money is insane. And they're going to depend on these ratings, right? For if the NBA, NBC is going to have it on Sunday night, which will be very interesting. There's going to be a big NBA game on every night of the week as we get into the fall and into the winter months. So I want to ask you this: where would you rank Devin Booker as a top 10 player in the league?
Mm, well, Okay, a few people that I'm pretty sure he that are better than him. Giannis, Jokic, no particular order. Luca, uh, Tatum when healthy. Jalen Brunson, probably Halliburton.
SGA.
Um, SGA,
Yeah.
LeBron.
Yeah. Jason Tatum.
I mean, that's eight already. Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
So I would say he's if he's not in the top 10, he's right outside of it. You can
Yeah.
make an argument that Cat is better
Yeah.
than.
Kevin
He's
Durant.
not the best player in the league. Durant, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Curry still. I don't know if we named him,
yeah.
but and there's no knock on Devin Booker. Outstanding, excellent player, excellent player. Um, got the Suns, helped get the Suns to the finals a few years back. They haven't done much since, but yet he's signing an extension worth 72 million a year, and I I don't even know what to say about that. That's an insane number. Now, listen, basketball has less players to pay, but there's also less people in the arenas. It we didn't go to an NBA game this past year, and I have to say, I know you went to a few, but not we didn't go here to Madison Square Garden. I have to say a factor of that was when I looked at some of the prices. I mean, it's insane now, and it's hard to get a deal. I used to could go on StubHub, SeatGeeks. You used to could find, when I say a deal, maybe a $50, $60 ticket, that's still a good chunk of money. And when you think about going into Manhattan, you're either taking the train or parking, that's money there. And oh my gosh, if you want to get a hot dog and drink, it's a lot of money there. So it's and I think those prices are going to be, turned right back over to the fans. And I think some of the apps are going to start to cost more. And so I don't know if that's good for the league or not. What do you think?
Um, you will get to the point where you're starting to price people out because also especially like for me as a Knicks fan in Cleveland, like the Knicks only come here once or twice a year, depending on how the schedule lands. But I'm assuming next year, especially since they're good and they're New York, how many times are the Knicks going to be on ESPN or
Oh,
NBC or
oh,
Amazon? Like they're
yeah,
going to be on all the time.
yeah.
Like I remember, I think back in Bible school, I had a buddy of mine who's from San Francisco, huge Warriors fan. That dude watched every Warriors game known to man because like we watched like the 24-0 stretch. So um it is going to become tougher to have people in the arenas. And what you'll start to see is some of these places renovate and then renovate with more suites. Um, the Cleveland Arena, Rocket Arena, has done a recent renovation, but it doesn't look like they added a ton of suites, and it's a little more affordable. Like you can get tickets under $50, and for us living in the city, living like a walking distance away from the train is $5.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and you
Better
can
there.
take the train and
Yeah,
walk straight to the arena from there. So,
yeah,
but in places like New York, in places like LA, especially the Clippers' new arena, it
yeah,
is just going to become more difficult for like the casual fan.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting moving forward. But yeah, these guys um, I guess can I ask a quick question? Who do you think is going to be the first $100 million man? Um, I have my guess, but I want to hear what you think.
I think Giannis.
Yeah.
I think Giannis because, what does he have? 1, 2 more years on his contract? He's gonna, and I don't think he's gonna look for it either. I don't think he's a guy that chases the money, because he formally still hasn't asked out of Milwaukee. But I think Giannis or Jokic will be will be first. But it's gonna happen soon, Ken. I think within 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say Jokic, um,
yeah,
because he hasn't signed a contract extension yet.
yeah,
So I can see he's going to be a free agent after the 2027-28
yeah,
season.
yeah.
Imagine him on the free agent market is going to be insane.
Yeah. But there's just gonna be some teams. and we'll transition to baseball. There's going to be some teams though that aren't going to be able to compete, and that worries me because the NBA is not just the Lakers every year or Chicago every year or New York every year, like what happens in baseball, right? The NFL has had that salary cap figured out for a long time because you do get small market teams, thus not get Kansas City's a relatively small market. It's not a huge market either, but look at the Chiefs every year, Philadelphia. You get teams that can compete from smaller markets. The NBA has kind of been like that, but because you see the Memphis of the world, small market, OKC, smallest market winning the championship, but how long can they sustain, right? Because I mean, let's just face it, New York, LA, there's a lot of businesses that will buy those suites, that'll buy those tickets, and they'll give it away so they can take clients out to the game and stuff like that. And there's a lot of celebrities in both cities that'll buy all of those celebrity road tickets and everything like that. But just the average pastor like us, making not a lot of money, obviously, um, can we afford to go to a lot of games? Maybe we can afford to go to one or two games a year. Um, but I mean, we consider ourselves kind of the middle class and average, but that worries me about cities, let's say like Charlotte or, if you put a team, see if you put a team in Seattle or Las Vegas, there's a lot of businesses in Seattle as well. There's a lot of businesses in Vegas, casinos, the hotels. They'll buy up all that. But, I'm shocked that Phoenix can afford to pay Devin Booker 72 million because Phoenix is also not a very big city. Um, I think the Suns sell that arena out every game, but I don't know. I just think that at some point, notice this. What has the 76ers done this offseason? Pretty much nothing, right? Um, they can't afford to. The 76ers don't sell that arena out every night, especially in a season like last season when they weren't good. And so I think you'll start to see. I mean, look at the moves the Celtics made. The Celtics, you would think, are a team that generates a lot of money, right? One of the best teams in the league, one of the best well-run franchises, but they shave salary, in the offseason. So there's a shift in the NBA is coming at an interesting time with all of the, TV money coming in, and the NBA is great at distributing that stuff equally. But there's going to be some sort of shift here when you start talking about paying one guy $72 million a year. I mean, LeBron got 52 million. Devin Booker is making 20 more million dollars than LeBron James this year. And how much did they pay James Harden, who's hasn't been our favorite player over the years? I forgot how much they gave him, but it was more than LeBron, I think. The Clippers gave him 2 more years. Or maybe it wasn't as much. Maybe I saw it was 2 years at 81 million or something like that. Right? Is that the number?
That's exactly what it is.
Hmm.
He's going to be making $42 million next year,
I,
which, which is insane because
I
he's making 25% of the Clippers cap
I don't know
space.
what to say about that. I just, again, I don't blame the players at all. But the owners are going to put themselves in a really, really weird spot. And you're going to start to see some teams in these mid-sized markets, and Philly's considered a pretty big market. But the Philly fan base, as well as anyone, man, they're tough. You ain't winning, they ain't coming.
Yeah.
So all right. We'll keep an eye on this. Let's shift over to baseball. Subway Series, it seems like it was a long time ago. But boy, oh boy, that was like a tense postseason series, I thought, all three games. Give us a recap. What were your thoughts? Mets took 2 out of 3. I'm not gloating or anything like that because I know better. And what did the Yankees took 2 or 3, right? So they tied again. They went 3-3 in the series this year. What were your thoughts? What were your takeaways on the Subway Series?
It stunk until it didn't. Um, but like, yeah, it's the first two games was a good microcosm of what's been going on over the last several weeks for the Yankees, where it seems like when they get clutch hits, they're not getting the shutdown pitching at the back end of the bullpen. Or if they are getting great pitching than they're not hitting. Or sometimes you kind of get both and they get blown out. But it's weird because I've seen it a few times now, and it's still kind of early to kind of make this as a turning point of the season because it's really only like 2.5 games. But Cody Bellinger's
Oh,
double play
what a play.
to nail Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor.
Uh,
Um, People are already kind of saying, "Oh, this might be like a turning point in the season,"
Might be.
because like,
That was a huge play.
yeah, it was huge.
Eighth
The
inning.
Yankees then end up
Yeah.
playing great towards the end, and they've put up a good series against the Mariners, who they always seem to smoke in the regular season. So um, I say that because they don't make the playoffs, um, but yeah, it's just it is always fun, and I do hope eventually we'll get another Subway Series, World Series. If we got it this year, it would have so much juice.
Yeah.
I don't know because still the National League is so tough. Although the Dodgers have struggled in the last week, they're trying to be like the Yankees and lose 6 in a row. Um, but it'll be very interesting to kind of see how these teams play out because it looks like the Mets kind of found something over the weekend, which is like what they needed. And it seems like the Yankees might have found something Sunday on. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, they've won three in a row now, right? So they're bouncing back a little bit, the Yankees. But I'm glad you brought up Bellinger in that play because it's not second guessing on you and I's part. We got on after the Yankees got him from the Cubs and said that's a great pickup. I mean, Bellinger in that series played right field, he played center field, he played left field, and he played first base. And he played them all to an excellent level. He's just one of these. I don't understand how an MVP, not long ago MVP, can be so underrated. And I know that, I think with him, it's all health. I think when he's healthy, he's right up there with one of the better players in the game. Um, when he's not healthy, he's not good at all. But I think you can say that about a ton of players, right? Um, that was the turning point, and might be the turning point in Yankee season because so many things happened on that. First, he had to catch that, right? And he scoops it up out of the ground, has the presence of mind to really close his glove shut so it doesn't look like it scrapes the ground at all. And then he has a presence of mind from left field. I mean, how many times we see from left field to first base? Usually we might see a great play from right field to third base, right? And he's
Yeah.
left-handed. And so he fires it in there, but then Goldschmidt does an outstanding job, decoying, making like the throw's not even coming. He's just standing there until the last possible second. And our Mets coach, who's done a great job, all the Mets coaches, I think, have done a great job so far this year. He didn't do a great job then because he doesn't tell the door go standing up. He doesn't tell him slide, dive down because he would have been safe, I thought, if he had slid. But it was just a phenomenal play all along. I mean, my heart broke on it because it totally killed the rally. I knew the Mets weren't going to win the game after that. It totally just killed the rally, and it was great.
Another thing too, like because obviously they went to review. Now, Juan Soto also would have still been out by your very rare 7-3 putout
Yeah,
because he wasn't hustling the first base.
yeah,
So even if it was called a trap, it would have been very interesting to see how they would have scored it. Because obviously, like Soto still would have had to have been out, I would assume.
yeah, yeah,
Then,
yeah,
like, what do you do with Lindor? Do you give
yeah,
him first base? Do you give him second base? I
yeah.
don't
I
know.
don't
It would have
know.
been very interesting.
That would have been interesting. Yeah, it was a great series, I thought. So I want to say this, and I want to even go back to the Toronto series for a second because I thought it was really interesting what happened with Michael Kay. And I think it's Jason Campbell is the Blue Jays announcer's name. But those first two games, Kenny, I didn't want to text you this because I never talk trash when the Mets beat the Yankees because at the end of the year, I mean, the Yankees were in the World Series last year, and I still think they're going to go this year. But I was getting the feeling that something was really wrong with the Yankees those first couple of games. They just didn't seem to have the spark. They fought back in both games, but it just almost like pound for pound seemed like the Mets were just a better team. But the Yankees, it was also something they seemed downtrodden to me. and listen, I'm just a fan watching on TV, so I don't know anything for a fact, but they didn't seem like the same team to me because it's been a little while since I watched a full Yankee game. I try to look in almost every night, at some just so we can, talk about, and I'm up on, I'm up on them. But watching both of those games seemed like they were a little downtrodden. Now they were coming off a 4-game sweep of the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are raging hot. It's amazing how they've gotten hot. We'll get around the horn in a second. What were your thoughts? Did you think that the Yankees that there was something taken out of them in that series? Because and they went through the same stretch as the Mets, not as bad as the Mets, but that 4-game series where you got the announcer coming on holding a broom. Can you imagine Gary Cohen or Keith Hernandez or Ken Singleton? I know he's retired, but Paul O'Neill coming on, starting the broadcast, David Cohn with a broom if the Yankees were going into game 4 and they won the first 3 games. I mean, I don't blame Michael Kay for saying something. So go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on where you see this Yankee team at and your thoughts on that whole episode.
Um, at this point, if they sweep the Blue Jays again, I hope all of the post game, Jack Curry, John Flaherty, Michael Kay come make a guest appearance and sweep up the floor. Um, that was an interesting thing because like you usually don't see broadcasters kind of feuding like that.
No.
And I'm glad that Michael Kay said what he did because it was kind of like chill because it is still July. It's not like October, and it's not like it wasn't the dagger of the season, but at the time I think it felt that way because also part of it was it was I believe a night game on Thursday night and then
Right.
playing a day game on Friday afternoon because it was 4th of July. Shout out, happy birthday to you, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, but like I think part of like especially the first couple games, it was just the devastation of not only losing first place, but then also they lost Clark Schmidt. They they got swept by the team that overtook them, and also like going through customs and then getting into your house at 2 o'clock in the morning and then having to play a day game was a lot. So I
Yeah.
think like
Okay. That
just
makes sense.
mentally that they were just exhausted.
Yeah.
But then I think once they finally kind of got to their senses, and I think they've realized now, oh, like we are a good team. Kind of like Boone had said that a couple days ago, like they're the best team in the league. Which like don't say that please because it's not true. Um, just record wise, but I think just like having that confidence of like, oh wait, no, we are still this team that in April and May was
Yeah.
kicking butts left and right. And I think also a big thing has been that the Yankees have actually like started to take themselves seriously in the sense of personnel. Because third base Jazz Chisholm, who is an all-star at third base, which is still kind of funny. Um, he's a great athlete, but he's not a great third baseman.
Right.
And that's no shade to him. It's just not his natural position. He's a better second baseman.
Right.
So Boone actually moving him back to second base. And then basically, as a result of that, kicking DJ LeMahieu off the team is a move that they wouldn't make at all the last few years. How many times was Aaron Hicks on the team for too long? Joey Gallo, Josh Donaldson. Like the fact that they were willing to do that earlier as opposed to those guys to me is saying that they actually believe in this team. Um, we'll see with the starting pitching. Brian Cashman also is saying that they're going to try to be very active for an infielder, for a pitcher, both starter and a couple of relievers. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think to kind of go back to the Blue Jay series, I think that was like their rock bottom, and now they've realized, okay, no, like we have to get our act together, and I think that we can actually be a good team.
Yeah. The Blue Jays rubbed their nose in it a little bit, I thought. I saw, just bits, parts of the series, but, I like their manager. Schneider for the Blue Jays, he's a chirper, right? But I gotta say, the fans, Toronto is also another place where the fans don't show up that much. They showed up, man. It was 4 games. That stadium was packed and they were loud. The Yankees, I think that cleared it up for me. So I didn't realize all that they got in late and like I said, I did realize I thought the Blue Jays had rubbed their nose in it a little bit. Let me go back to DJ LeMahieu though, Ken. He's with the Yankees a long time. right? 5, 6 years maybe. Um,
I
and
think 2018.
2018, so 7 years. And he's one of the few guys in history, right? That's won batting titles in both leagues. So we're not talking about a scrub player. There's
I
two
think
players,
he's the second or third.
second or third.
Arise is one, and I
Arise is
think
definitely one. Yeah. Yeah. We'd have to think about who else. Um, but I was still surprised that they cut him now. I was saying beforehand to you that did he ask for it? I thought that maybe he asked, "Hey, I don't want to be a bench player. Get me out of here." But you're saying that that's not the case. What's your overall thoughts here on LeMahieu getting designated for assignment?
yeah. So basically, so I'll give kind of the timeline. So on a podcast on Tuesday, Boone announced that Jazz Chisholm was moving back to second base, and he's going to be the permanent second baseman. And previously, it had been DJ as well as Peraza kind of alternating some time. And then, so once they made that move, then the next question was, well, what happens to those guys? And then he said Peraza is going to be third base and DJ is going to be primarily bench player because he's not physically able to do third base as much. And then the next day, like, it wasn't an injury or a trade or anything. Because like you would have understood it if, let's say, like they got the guy I kind of am keeping my eye on, Suarez from the Diamondbacks. I don't know if that's going to happen, but
Right.
if they got like a primary third baseman, then obviously they would probably DFA DJ then. But they called up Yorbit Vivas, who has been on the team before. He's kind of been like the quadruple A guy. Um, so it kind of is telling me that like they don't really see his value as just a right-handed bench player. But what's crazy is over his last 15 games, DJ LeMahieu is batting 310. So like
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of big hits in
the
that series.
bat is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I think they just value because like Bibas can play like in other positions too and can be a little bit more versatile. He can also be like a pinch runner slash defensive replacement. So um, I think that that's it's an interesting thing because the Yankees don't usually do that, especially for a guy that has been there. Um, yeah, 2019 was when he first came in, and he is technically the third player that's won the batting title in both leagues.
Right.
Ed Delanty won the National League batting title in 1899 and the American League one in 1902. So
Wow.
you're talking modern history, DJ LeMahieu and
And Luis
Luis
Arraez, right?
Arraez, the only two
Wow.
guys.
Wow. Was that a message being sent to the Yankees, to the other players? And if so, if it's a message, what player was they sending it to? Like who else is you feel underachieved? Because I will say LeMahieu, as good as I think he still is, definitely underachieved this year. But I was seeing him get base hits to right field against the Mets all 3 games, you know? Um, but was there any message there, or is this really just a one-off? Because you mentioned that the Yankees usually don't do this. They usually stick with these guys, especially guys that's been on the team, a la Aaron Hicks, for a while. Was this any sort of message being sent to the rest of the team?
I don't think it was necessarily like a message to the rest of the team, or like to like a particular player. Because like I'm looking at like especially the offensive players. No one aside from DJ has like grossly underachieved, except for Anthony Volpe. But I don't know. Boone seems to have a weird love affair with Volpe. I mean that in the most endearing way because
Yeah.
like he was asked about Volpe in the same interview and he like got very defensive. Volpe needs a couple days off. Um, like his numbers immediately after he has time off are tremendous. Like I would say watch out for him for the second half. I could see
Right.
him having a second half of July
Oh
at
yeah.
like a 305 clip with like 3 home runs and kind of get some of the yips out of him.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like I'm looking at everybody else. Like Dominguez, I think he's finally turned it around a little bit. Um, another prediction that I have for the second half for him is that he's going to look more like second half of Gleyber Torres last year, where he kind of takes the reins as the leadoff man.
Right.
He's got a great eye, which you probably saw a little bit of that in the Mets series.
He does.
Except he's Gleyber with a better glove and a little bit more speed. That's
Yeah.
that's my that's going to be my assessment for the second half.
He misplayed
Belly's been fine, Judge has been fine.
he misplayed one of those balls. I forgot who hit it, but he misplayed one of those balls in left field. I do like the opposite field power. He had two left field home runs, right, in the series. So I like him. He's going to be a really good player. Tell us real quick about the pitcher last night for the Yankees.
Yeah, Cam Schlittler, I think. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Cam.
Right.
Um, he he has been killing it at AAA. Has come up obviously with the Clark Schmidt injury. Heel is kind of still far out, so like he might get a couple more starts. He's fantastic. He hit 100 a couple times. Out of the fastest pitches thrown this year by a Yankee, he has 9 of 10 of them, and that's just from last night.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
really like what he has
Okay.
brought, and I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Because like Fried
Yeah.
and Rodon are good, but the other
Yeah.
guys, we got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice to see a phenom here in New York. Even though the Mets hit him, Jason Saz. I think they call him Saz because his last name is a little hard to pronounce. The Mets hit him, but boy, oh boy, he pitched great against the Dodgers last night. He gave up a leadoff homer to Shohei, and then he didn't pitch a complete game. I think he went 7 innings, struck out like 11 or 12. He looks like the real deal. So you'll start to hear a little bit more about him, like you hear about Skeens. Um, I want to quickly go around the horn in the majors, and then we'll get ready to wrap up. The I've been looking, and it's early. The Nationals cleaned house. I was surprised because those are two very well respected. Mike Rizzo has been around forever, well respected leaders. Dave Martinez, I think, shouldn't have a hard time getting another job. Although it's weird that you don't see guys like David Ross or Skip Schumacher, some of the ones that got let go last year, that I thought were good managers. You haven't seen teams scoop them up. Miguel Cairo, a favorite of both of ours. He played for both the Yankees and the Mets. I thought he was a very good major leaguer. But the Nats, I mean, they listen. They need to spend money. I mean, they still have Bryce Harper and Juan Soto on that team if they weren't so cheap. But I don't see the Braves getting into this. Um, I don't see the Diamondbacks. Your point about Eugenio Suarez. To me, he's like a two-dimensional player. He hits a lot of home runs. He's a good fielding third baseman, but he hits a lot of home runs, and that's kind of it. But would he be an upgrade for the Yankees? He would. I mean, the Diamondbacks are only a game under, but there's something off with that team as well. In the American League, I mean, the Red Sox are, I don't know if you noticed, they're 4 games over 500 now, 5.5 out. They're starting to make a move. I don't think the Orioles will get back into it, even though the Orioles have played very well since they started off 14 and 34. I mean, put it in perspective, they're 40 and 50 now, right? So you can do the math there on what they've been since they were 14 and 34. Um, but the other teams in the Central, the Royals, the Twins, the Guardians, we'll maybe talk a little bit more about them next week. I don't think any one of those three teams are going to get into the race. And the Mariners are hanging on the periphery here, but the Astros sweeping the Dodgers, and now all of a sudden they're 55 and 38. I don't know how they do it, Ken. I know that's your least favorite team in the universe, but boy, oh boy, they just keep doing it. Anybody that I missed on that? Oh, Texas. I think Texas, I mean, they're 3 games under. I think they're still a pretender, and I think the baseball world is watching them more to see what they do, if anything, with Jacob deGrom, who is still just pitching great. I know they scored, I think 2 or 3. It was a big deal. They scored 2 or 3 runs off him the other night. And Texas didn't win for a change in one of his starts. I miss anything in baseball?
Um, let's see. Side note: the Orioles 26-16 since
Yeah,
that start.
yeah,
Um, I'll say this on the Astros. The Astros are like the groundhogs that we've been dealing with in our garage. Every time we get rid of one, we it just comes back again. Um, I think a team that kind of has the staying power a little bit is the Giants. Devers is still being a little funky and weird with the first base thing, and he's blown off somebody in the Giants organization a few times. So that is still a thing to watch, but they've still kind of stuck in there. Um, Another team that it's like, I don't know how they keep being good is the Brewers, 53-40.
yeah,
Um, so good for them.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the East in the National League is a two-team race to me between the Mets and the Phils. I think that'll be an
yeah,
interesting race as it
yeah,
continues.
yeah.
Um, the Marlins are they're 7.5 back in a wild card spot. So they also, I think, people I think are more watching Sandy Alcantara to see if like he's still good.
He hasn't pitched
Which
well. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So and I think if you're the Marlins, you don't want to sell him low like that,
yeah.
especially since you don't really have a reason to. Um, but I don't know. The other team that's like it's more of like a good for you, I guess, would be the Angels. We're only two
Yeah,
games under 500.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Shout
yeah,
out to Ron Washington. I know he's not there anymore,
yeah,
but shout
yeah,
out to him.
yeah. All right. We've got only a couple of minutes left because I do have a hard stop this morning. Best nicknames. I'll give you, well, let's go each sport real quick. Um, Baseball to me, um, the big unit or Randy Johnson. I always thought that was a great nickname, the big unit. Certainly fit him. Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, Shoeless Joe Jackson. I think those were all great, but I think the big unit is the one for me. And there was a player who didn't do much in the major leagues when I was a kid. His name was Walt No Neck Williams. And he really like he had no, I mean, I'm not making fun of his physical appearance, but he really didn't have a neck. And they used to say, and no neck is coming up to the plate, you know? Basketball to me, the best nickname ever is Dr. J. I mean, it just to me, it doesn't get any better than that. But I also like Gary Payton, the glove. I mean, that definitely says a lot, right? Gary Payton is the glove. Um, I don't know, football, there's not a ton that stand out to me in football except Walter Payton. They called him Sweetness. I thought that was a great one. Um, the Greek Freak, I think, is interesting with Giannis. There was a guy who was always overweight. His name was John Williams, and his nickname was Hot Plate. He called him John Hot Plate Williams because he was always overweight. Anyway, what you got?
Um, okay, a few that popped up. Okay, one that is kind of more local. Jenkinsey Noel, Big Christmas. He's not that good, but he had one of the more iconic home runs for the Guardians last year. But
Noel,
Big
yeah,
Christmas is
Big
such a great
Christmas.
name. Um, Another one, I have to let me double check. This is a prospect for the Red Sox. Um, his name is Joe Tinson Garcia. Let me
Right.
spell out his first name. Jhostynxon. His nickname is the password, which I think is hilarious. Um, I mean, you can also go very classic and say Babe as Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I like those. Those were two that stuck out for baseball. A couple of like more, I guess, I don't know, niche. I don't know if that's the right word. NBA ones, the Birdman, Chris
yeah,
Anderson, guy with all the tattoos.
yeah,
Also,
yeah.
one that I forgot about is the beard. We just talked about him, James Harden.
Yeah, James Harden. His beard gets in place
Um,
5 minutes before he does. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Um, I think one for I just looked up NFL nicknames and I'm like, oh, that's probably a good one. Prime time, Deion
Oh, that's a
Sanders.
great one.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
so Yeah, there's a lot. We could go on for a minute,
Yeah,
honestly, with
yeah.
that.
I forgot the mailman, Carl Malone, because he always
Mailman, that's
delivers.
a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right, I wanted to expand, and we'll do it next week for inspiration, if that's okay. There's a new ESPN documentary on Jim Abbott, and I know I've used him as inspiration before, but there's a couple of different perspectives. I haven't seen it all yet. I only saw the clips of it, but I want to expand on that next week for inspiration. Um, but and we'll get some inspiration next week. We'll talk about future Hall of Famers. Lots to get into, but for now, Kenny, take us home.
All right, this is Kenny Squared N.
Kenny,
Sports on the Positive Tip. We'll see you guys next week.
absolutely.